Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of NXT Then, Now, Forever. I'm James Boyd, and with me I have the co-host, or just your joint host of Keepin It Strong Style, Josh.
I'm the host.
You're the host.
Jeremy's the co-host.
Okay, so we're already establishing that you're the heel of the contest. Okay, I see. So the host of Keepin It Strong Style, Joshua Smith. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Glad to do this show.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
Yes. So we are going to start off with this week's NXT. It is going to go by very fast because every single fucking match on this show, except for the main event, follows the same exact path. You'll notice it in my notes. So,
I'm going to make sure it lasts longer. I'm going to do the audio equivalent of rest holds on this show.
You realize that I'll just, stop recording, right?
You'll just start clapping your hands and say, no rest holds. No rest holds.
Nah, I'll just hang up on you and do a solo show the rest of the show. I'm not suffering through this. I'm trying to get this shit over with. I got Stardom to watch. So, I watch too much wrestling is. I gotta watch more wrestling. You want me to delay the whatever? Get ready for this week's. What?
I would just like to say that I actually spent my lunch break, 1 hour of my lunch break, watching this first episode of NXT. That's my dedication to this program.
All right, I thank you, and I also like to apologize for wasting your lunch break. This show, yikes. All right, let's just go ahead and get into it.
Brodus Clay knocked out my teeth, but my teeth have been replaced. Now tonight he wants to come after something that's irreplaceable. Well, you can tell Brodus I've worked too long and I've worked too hard to lose to someone like him. So I will beat him again, but this time it won't be via countout. This time I'll beat him slap bang dead in the center of the ring. 1, 2, 3.
NXT 219, May 1st, 2014. We start with a Triple H promo. He says the line between the future and now are getting blurred, and then he mentions the Shield, the Wyatts, Cesaro, Big E, and Damian Sandow?
Who's that?
Yeah, very good question. So, he also mentions Paige, who recently was just in NXT, and she gets a very big pop. Then we announce, or Triple H announces, the next upcoming 2-hour NXT special called TakeOver.
The very first TakeOver.
Yeah. So then we get Tyson Kidd versus Bo Dallas. Tyson Kidd shines early until Bo catches a kick and then sweeps a leg and sends Tyson bumping onto the apron. Bo squeezes the life out of Tyson in the match until Tyson fights to his feet and delivers some kicks. Bo cuts him off and delivers a Bo dog, but Tyson kicks out of the finisher. Tyson ends up on the apron. Bo charges. Tyson hits him with a head kick, and then he sets up and hits the top rope blockbuster for the win.
Yeah, when I was watching this, I just kept thinking, a few thoughts I had to myself was like, I forget how raw Tyson Kidd's gear always was. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I really miss Tyson Kidd because this guy was great. The whole time he was wrestling, I was like, this is Bret Hart's wrestling.
Oh, my God. Literally, right?
Literally.
So it's funny that people talk about who's dangerous as a worker. Like, there are people that will blame Sasha Banks for kicking Paige in the back and her career was done, even though she was on the shelf and she had to fight to get herself back into the ring after being held off for that time. So I've yet to hear somebody be a smartass and say Samoa Joe is dangerous. I'm just waiting on that.
Yeah, well, Brett said that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you don't remember? Brett was like very critical, very publicly outspoken when the accident happened.
Okay, I never saw the move, but I figured it was just a regular muscle buster like it always is. And
it was just a freak accident.
There's only so many bumps you can take on your neck. Think how many people end up with stenosis.
I don't know if you thought about this, but this show is a little bit significant because you and I were actually living in Baltimore working together in Baltimore.
Okay,
when this show was taking place.
Is that historically significant or personally significant?
Historically, of course.
Moving on. We're going to go to...
Oh, I did want to say one thing, though. Even though Bo wasn't the greatest wrestler in the world, he comes across so much more like a star in Full Sail back then. He is a guy, like, with that gimmick, I thought would actually be something that got over on the main roster, and it just never panned out.
Yeah, you give a look at the Arrival match he had with Neville, the ladder match, and then you look at the rematch that he had, and Bo could keep up with a very talented worker. This wasn't the case where they said, go out there and show how good you are. They said, go out there and hold on for dear life. So This wasn't really a fair showing to him, and, if you go through, earlier editions of the show, I've actually was kind of surprised and somewhat impressed by the fact that he could keep up with the likes of Neville.
They did, at the end of the match, start chanting, "Na na na na, goodbye." Was this his final appearance with NXT before he went to the main roster?
It probably was. Because he was already up on the main roster. It was him and Paige, and I can't think who else was up, but like right after WrestleMania 30, they show up.
Even though his wrestling wasn't good here, like a lot of his character work was actually very like Jericho-esque from like 97 WCW, just like bratty and whiny, and I thought he came off pretty good here. This was okay to me. It was one of the better matches on the show, I'd say. It wasn't great, but it was quick and it told the story.
Yeah. We're going to move on. We've spent too much time on this sorry match. Or regular ass match. So we get a backstage Camacho promo. He says that he is in fact not a party pooper. So then Adam Rose interrupts and he says, everywhere he goes, there's a party, or everywhere he goes is a party, and then Rosebuds, assemble. And you get Braun Strowman, Fuck All Night, Tucker Knight, Simon Gotch, WrestleMania 35 main event winner Becky Lynch and the likes. They're all dancing around. Even the backstage interviewer started dancing around. Camacho rolls his eyes, and that was the end of that one.
Camacho looks familiar.
Are you serious?
Okay. One thing I was thinking about, though, do you think that they put lifts in Braun's shoes now? Because he looks shorter here than he normally does.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, so... yeah, so then we get a backstage promo from Bayley and then Sasha. Both of them are very quick. Bayley says that the title is more... Okay, let me backtrack for a second. So, they're stating that because of Paige's accident, they're doing a NXT women's title tournament. It's an 8-woman tournament. The first round of matchups is Bayley versus Sasha, Layla versus Layla, not Princess Leia. Layla versus Natalya, Emma versus Charlotte, and Alexa Bliss versus Alicia Fox, which surprised me because I didn't think Alexa was on NXT that early. I thought it was a little bit later than that. Anyway, she's doing the cheerleader pixie fairy gimmick. Anyway, we get a quick backstage promo with Bayley and then Sasha. Bayley says the title is more important to her than 10 John Cena hugs, 5 Big E high fives, and a combo of both from Paige, and that Sasha's in her way. And then Sasha says that now that the Princess of Pale is gone, it's time for the boss to take charge. And she says she's going to hit Bayley so hard that her ponytail will be knocked straight. So we end up getting Bayley versus Sasha. Bayley comes out first. Still doesn't have the music that she's known for, but she does have the NXT debut of the wacky inflatable arm tube guys.
Yeah, I didn't know she had that early.
Yeah, same here. Then Sasha comes out. Sasha still has that music in the hair that is not what we know and love from Sasha Banks just yet. So they both start out with some mat wrestling. They end up in positions where they end up getting them into the corner, each of them at different points, getting them into the corner with their backs exposed, and both of them exchange back chops, which look kind of mean. We end up getting Bayley in like the Bret Hart fundamental where she's in position for her finish, but she ends up and is teasing the finish, but she instead does something else and almost fakes you out. Like, you know how Bret used to get the legs and then do like the headbutt to the gut?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does this a couple times. She slaps the bear hug on, and then she just lifts Sasha and then runs her into the corner. And I'm just like, you're in a position for your move. Just hit your move. So, anyway.
Yeah, it seemed to me, I don't know, I kind of thought like maybe she just had a lot of hugging offense.
I think that's where they're getting at. It's like, you know, she wants to hug you, and then like there's variations of the huggery.
I will say this though, this was some of the most fluid and like best wrestling on the show early on. Even though this is a really, really short match, you could already see a lot of what would become the brilliance between these two. Just the chemistry between them. I actually really dug this for as long as it lasted.
Yeah, you're right, because it was really a short match, but yeah, you can already start to see it. And this is the third match I think I've seen between them two already. And
although I do have one big gripe with the ending, and I'll tell you about it here in a second.
Oh, I have a gripe with it too. So after all of the running into the corner, Sasha ends up hitting a straight jacket neck breaker looking deal that apparently used to be her finish called the bankrupt. So Bayley kicks out for 2. Sasha makes a face like she kicked out of my finisher. So
she can't believe it.
Yes, can't believe it. However, will she continue? So Sasha lifts her up to her feet, and then Bayley ends up grabbing her for the Bayley to belly, but Sasha escapes and then hits the backstabber that rolls into the bank statement for the submission victory.
Yeah. So with this, everything leading up to the Bayley to belly was really good. She hits her with the Bayley to belly, and she just rolls out of the ring, which is fine, except for she was too far for the position, so she just had to keep rolling. It didn't come off like a desperation. It just kind of came off like she had all her cognizance to do it.
Yeah.
Then when Bayley goes to grab her, she I forget what you call it, like a jawbreaker. She does a jawbreaker on the ropes to her. So it's like she got hit with her finisher, but then she has the presence of mind to roll out, hit her with the freaking jawbreaker, then get back in and hit her with the bank statement. She doesn't sell the Bayley to belly whatsoever, like not even a little bit, which I kind of get. I don't criticize them too much. I guess I criticize the agent because they only had a few minutes, and that's probably what they were told to do. But if you get hit with the finisher and you roll outside the ring, you should probably sell it and lay on the floor for a while instead of just like popping right up, because it basically no-sold the entire finish.
Well, I would say that the criticism they should have for it is you booked a match that had some twists and turns in it that didn't allow for it to breathe to be able to tell that story in that short amount of time. So you should have did less.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Yeah, because I didn't even in my notes I didn't even mention the fact that she kicked out or she rolled out the way of the desperation Bayley to belly, and it even happened. I just got to more stuff that even happens. Like there, one thing I didn't like about this match was that you gave Bayley something by her kicking out of Sasha's old finisher, right?
Right.
And then you took it all the way by making her tap out. She's babyface tapping out of the middle of the ring. So, in fact, what would have worked better would if you slapped on the bank statement, she fights and fights and fights, gets to the rope, and then she hits her with her pin finisher.
Now, they reacted like this was the first time she's ever done the bank statement. Have you seen her use that on television before? Because it seemed like it was the first time.
I'm not exactly sure, because at this point, like, Sasha keeps doing jobs.
Okay.
Like, she jobbed to Paige, she's jobbed to Bayley twice. I can't remember if she ever slapped it on Bayley at any point in time. I feel like she has, though.
The way they reacted, they didn't call it by name, and they said that she just added a new wrinkle to her game, and they're like, this basically, they said, is a new move. So it seemed like maybe she never done it, or if she had, they weren't like utilizing it up to this point as a finish.
That's cool, but if you're going to do that, then don't let her kick out of the first move to begin with. Just beat her.
Other than the finish, though, this was, even though it probably was only like 3 minutes or 4 minutes, it was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, they zoomed through.
And also, one last thing, it's so nice to see Bayley and Sasha just, like, invigorated and bright-eyed and so, like, happy and, like, ready to, like, take over the world, and they're not, like, you know, destroyed, like, their souls are not gone at this point.
You mean they're not like jaded, skeptical, and beaten down by cynicism of being on the main roster for the last 3 years?
Absolutely,
4 years.
and I mean, both of them looked like mega stars here already.
Yeah. So, we have the next 2 years of NXT. They're not forever to go over it, and then it's all over, right? It's curtains for them. So after that, we end up getting. So. Because Sasha advanced, she's now waiting on the winner of Natalya versus Layla, which will be later on tonight. So 24 minutes into the show, we're finally showing the announced team of William Regal, Tom Phillips, and Byron Saxton. They tell us that Neville has requested a no DQ championship match against Brodus Clay for later in the show.
Stupid then the commentary, babyface.
Yes. So then the commentary team throws to a Brodus Clay video package where Brodus tells us that WWE and the WWE Universe stole his dignity and then showed him doing the Funkadactyl stuff. And then he says he's now back to take all of his dignity back. And then the rest of the video is him laying out Neville backstage and quote-unquote knocking out his teeth last week. And then also a previous NXT match where he beat the hell out of Xavier Woods. So then we get Adam Rose versus Danny Burch.
Nothing match.
Yeah. So, Adam Rose keeps escaping Burch's wrestling holes with shenanigans. Burch gets pissed that he's getting upstaged by a dandy, and then he starts throwing strikes. and then he throws Rose's head first right into the turnbuckle twice. That fires up Rose, and he hits a string of punches and chops, then a charging back elbow in the corner, then a back kick, then a Bronco Buster in that same corner, and then he hits this inverted neckbreaker looking deal for the win.
The party foul. He hit him with the party foul.
That's what it's called. Okay.
The snapmare driver.
Okay, the snapmare driver. Okay. I'll totally forget that by next
Which is a pretty cool move, actually. But other than that, this match was pretty much nothing. It was interesting to see Danny Burch kind of like he definitely wasn't in the shape he's in now, you know?
Well, we don't really know that because he's in the singlet. You have no idea.
He's definitely bigger, though. Yeah. He's shredded to the gills now. It's
also funny that Regal is trying to say that like he is like
a hooligan.
Yes, he's like, yeah, I don't even know how he even made it into this country.
I don't know how he got a visa.
Yes. So then we end up getting the Rosebuds coming down to the ring to celebrate with Adam Rose. Then Camacho comes out and he lays out one of the partying geeks, and that's just to further that storyline along.
Riveting stuff.
Yes. So we get a quick backstage interview with Brodus Clay. He says that Neville will be lucky if he even is left with a heartbeat. It's like, yikes. Murder. So then we get Natalya versus Layla. We get a great deep arm drag from Layla. Then Natty escapes, so wrist lock, and then Layla slaps on this rest hold.
Oh, Layla's so bad.
Yeah.
For the time, by the standard, no, but like she's pretty bad compared to all the rest of the women on this show.
I remember when she came back in, I think the 2012-ish, 2013-ish, whenever that was. I remember her being okay, and then she did the Fandango stuff, which is where she is right now in her career, and then it's like, well, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, I forgot about the Fandango stuff. When she came out, I was like, oh yeah, she was with him, because I only kind of remember Summer Rae, honestly.
Remember, I think they took it to SummerSlam. It was like a battle of the babes between Summer Rae and Layla, and I believe it at one point, like, they dumped them and they left together, and I was like, are they taking this where I think they're taking this? But they didn't, thank God. So they're not mature enough to write that kind of storyline. They're getting themselves in all kinds of trouble. There'd be was it Billy and Chuck? That's what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't handle that. They're not responsible for that. So Layla slaps on the rest hold. Natty fights out. Layla puts her right back in the same exact rest hold. Natty gets out of it again, hits the ropes, and then hits the tornado clothesline. Layla ends up in a situation where she can get a sunset flip cover, but Natty grabs Layla's legs and then slaps on the sharpshooter for the submission victory. So, in the second round, Natty will face Sasha.
Yep.
Yeah. So, we end up getting a backstage promo with Neville where he says that Brodus Knight had his teeth last week, but he was able to get a new set because that's replaceable. But what Brodus wants is irreplaceable, the NXT Championship, and this time he won't beat Brodus with a count out. He says he's going to put him away.
I've always thought that that's such stupid logic.
What?
Basically, they even on commentary they really sell it how, you know, he doesn't want to win by count out because it's a cheap victory. Only a submission or a pinfall is sufficient, you know. But the reality is, like, if you book it the right way and you educate your fan base, like, a countout win is technically a knockout. Like, you know, I mean, like, you can do the cheap kind of like countout where the person barely makes it in, but like back in the day in a lot of territories, it was like the person was knocked out and it was a conclusive finish. And it's like, it doesn't have to be booked like a cheap victory every single time. But in WWE, it's always been that way. Yeah,
it is, because it's an easy way out because they don't do the championship, because they do the championship advantage nonsense, which, like, you can make it matter more by getting rid of that. Like, you can make all decisions matter a lot more if you get rid of the championship, whatever, but that means you would have to actually try. So they don't do that. But that's not even just WWE, that's just North American pro wrestling.
But I think one of your favorite videos to send me is the video of Bernard Hopkins getting knocked out of the ring.
Oh, that's yes. But that's a little different. It's like he finished it in the ring and knocked his ass out of the ring, as opposed to in when you watch pro wrestling now, it's like, oh, somebody got laid out like at the 8 count, and they rolled and another person rolled their ass in the ring and won it. Like, that's kind of what happened with Neville and Brodus Clay last week, or later a month ago, 5 years ago.
Bernard Hopkins got counted out. Let's be clear. So
you look at that video and you tell me that that's a dude that was going that wasn't done. Whatever. We can move on. So we get Mojo Rawley versus Oliver Gray.
How many matches are on this show? My God.
Well, there's only one more after this. So Gray lands a kick to the gut and then clubs on Mojo's back for a few times until Mojo subs him in the corner, and then he goes straight into the 5 moves of doom. You already know what it is. 2 stinger splashes, a hip attack, and a running, jumping ass drop for the win.
Yeah. What's up with the ass offense from Mojo?
I don't know. He's been doing this since Arrival, and every single one of his match ends the same exact way. 2 stinger splashes in the corner, hip attack, running, jumping ass drop.
The one thing I thought to myself was, like, he's the new regular Warrior. He came out there doing his best Ultimate Warrior like impression.
Dude, that's an insult to Ultimate Warrior. And honestly, that'd be an insult to Renegade, too. Like, the Texas Tornado is like, nope. Even Carry with one leg or one foot is not. They don't even do justice to him. Like, he is just the worst.
Yeah.
Just move on. So, we get Adrian Neville versus Brodus Clay.
Wait. There's an attack afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Fuck. All right. Out comes Aiden English. He says he's done suffering fools and that Mojo is the fool that he will no longer suffer. So Mojo is kind of incredulous and kind of like taking audience with the crowd. So while that's happening, English attacks from behind. Mojo more or less no sells, and it just immediately like clotheslines his ass out the ring down to the floor.
And I thought to myself immediately,
Geek of the week.
The upper mid card of NXT is super strong right now.
Adrian Neville versus Brodus Clay, no DQ match for the NXT title. Match starts out kind of hot. We end up in a situation where Adrian Neville's up on the apron. Brodus Clay comes charging. Neville ends up yanking down the top rope, so Brodus badly goes over the top rope down to the floor. We end up getting a Fosbury flip from Neville, and thank God he's just one of the best wrestlers in the world, because Brodus didn't catch him or nothing.
He didn't catch him at all.
Feet. Yeah, so they end up back in the ring. It's more or less, strikes and kicks from loud sounding off kicks from Neville. Until Brodus Clay catches him, and then he starts pounding away on him, stomp him in the corner. He ends up catching him in a almost like an inverted power slam position, but he ends up turning into like a bear hug type of situation where he's squeezing him and squeezing him and squeezing him. Neville escapes and lands more strikes. He ends up getting a situation where he finally puts him in position to where he can go for a red arrow, but he escapes. He ends up getting, or Brodus Clay ends up getting advantage again. He ends up going out to the scorekeeper's table. He grabs the WWE or the NXT title, brings it to the ring. He goes to charge with it. He ends up eating a boot from Neville. Neville sets up for the red arrow and actually gives him a red arrow with right on top of Brodus with the NXT title there, and gets the victory.
Couple other things that happened in this match that I thought were interesting. The no DQ rule did come into play slightly. There was a point where Brodus had Adrian Neville up in a Argentine backbreaker, and the only way Neville could get out is he raked his eyes, which was obviously not against the rules.
Yes. That was the inverted power slam bear hug hole I was talking about. Yes, an Argentine backbreaker. Dude, I don't know the name of that shit. I was like, whatever. I'll just say what it's close to. Yeah.
That's Antonino Rocca's one of his finishes. And then
cool.
Antonino Rocca was like one of the biggest WWF stars ever.
Didn't say otherwise. I just said cool. Let's move on.
One other thing too was Brodus actually landed a big splash off the second rope, and Neville kicked out of it. That was pretty crazy. It
was over halfway across the ring too, and I was like, I don't know if he's gonna make it, and he did, and I was like, interesting.
I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, I would have him land it right now. I wouldn't have him move, and then he did land it. I was like, oh, they did it, and then he kicked out, and I was like, wow. But other than that, I mean, this wasn't a bad match, but it was just kind of there. It was whatever.
I thought it was a good match.
I thought it was good. I thought that when Neville hit the red arrow, even though this was 5 years ago, it's still to this day one of the most impressive aerial maneuvers that you'll ever see. Like, this man was just incredible. Yeah. And still is.
Yeah. And now we have, 21-year-old Hazuki on Stardom hitting on people to win the high-speed title. It's amazing.
One thing I thought was really funny was the entire night I thought because I didn't watch NXT from this period, but Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and William Regal I thought were really good. What would you call them? Commentary team?
I thought that this week, and Regal's pretty much on every single week, I thought this was the worst that Regal was at trying to figure out what he was trying to say. It was almost as if like he was at loss for words at times, and he was scrambling, trying to fill in the blank of what he was saying. Like, he sounds a lot like how I am when I do this show, and when it's like he's thinking out loud while trying to form what he's gonna say, and he's like searching for his words how I'm searching for my words right now a lot, but normally he's like on point. So this kind of took me aback a bit to see he didn't have the fastball this week.
I'm not a big commentary guy. Like, I've said this on my show before. Like, I don't have like hot takes on it, but I thought that this was a pretty good team. That being said, though, they had one of the most ridiculous calls I've ever. I get why they're doing it, but they had one of the most ridiculous calls at the end of this match. Like, William Regal was like, "Yes, this was by far the greatest performance I have ever seen in my entire life. This man has overcome Mount Everest." And I was like, all right, Tony Schiavone, the greatest night in the history of professional wrestling.
Okay, to be fair, he did just carry Brodus Clay to like a 2 3/4 3-star match. Yeah. So
it was good.
It was. He did kind of do the damn thing. How people talk about Okada's like, he got a 4-star match with Fale. It's like, oh, great, fantastic. Like, Neville got a 3-star match out of Brodus Clay.
I actually did think on this show they did a really good job with backstage promos with Brodus Clay and Adrian Neville. They did a good job like telling the story and building it up. It was something that was anticipated. One thing I think people kind of forget, because Neville's reign was so early in the days of NXT, is like he was, and the record might have been broken now, but it might not have. I think he's got the most title defenses on television and takeovers of any champion in history. And it was because he was doing a lot of this. He was defending the belt on regular NXT television a lot more often than you would see other champions doing that. So that's one thing that people kind of forget about his legacy.
That's a great point. Neville is someone that should never be forgotten in the history of the NXT, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this show. But let's move on to this week's NXT.
Keep doing what you know. I'm gonna keep cheering for you, but I'm gonna let you know. Get my name out of your mouth. Get my name out your mouth. That's all I'm saying for you. Get my name out your mouth.
What's going on there?
Yo, hold up.
Bianca, what are you
good?
doing?
You good? Fantastic.
Bianca, what are you doing?
I hope you have a good day then.
Mia,
I hope you have a good week.
Come back to class.
Okay, you got something?
Bianca.
You got something you need to say to me? You got something you said to me? You want to talk about
what
it
are you
yourself
doing?
this week. So, what's on your mind? Okay, why don't we talk
Hey, lady, stop it. You're in the picture here.
Handle this in the ring then.
Hey, stop it.
Post up.
Stop it now.
Girl.
Hey, Bianca, what are you doing?
What y'all looking at? You really recording this right now? Get up out of here. Get out my face.
WWE NXT 504, May 1st, 2019. The first match of the card is Danny Burch, Oney Lorcan, and Humberto Carrillo versus the Forgotten Sons. So, Cutler and Lorcan get things started with Lorcan hitting some running blockbuster onto Cutler, and then it's a European uppercut to Blake that sends him out of the ring. Humberto comes in and hits a standing moonsault before the Forgotten Sons regroup at ringside, and Jackson beats Humberto down with some right hands. Cutler hits a running knee to the back of Humberto in the ropes before he hip tosses Blake into Humberto for a quick 2 count. Jackson hits a diving headbutt onto Humberto for a 2 count before locking in the Cobra Clutch. Humberto rolls back to pin the shoulders of Jackson for the near fall. Lorcan comes in and takes out all 3 members of the Forgotten Sons before Burch hits a missile drop kick onto Cutler. Jackson breaks up a crossface by Burch before Humberto accidentally hits a suicide dive onto Lorcan. Burch ended up in the ring with all 3 members of the Forgotten Sons, so he ends up firing up. He ends up getting beaten down before Jackson hits a Polish hammer to Humberto in midair. And the Forgotten Sons then hit the Lorcan and Burch with double diving knee drops, with Jackson holding them in reverse DDT position. And they end up, I believe they end up pinning Burch.
Yeah, so a couple thoughts I had here. Lorcan and Burch, are they on NXT UK as heels?
Okay, so they're doing weird stuff. So Oney is in 205 Live, and he's a heel. Like, he's a frothing at the mouth dog, damn near, right? And then Burch, I don't know. I don't really watch 205.
You know what?
NXT
I'm confusing them with Eichner and
okay,
and Bartel. That's what it is.
But either way, like, if they're still going to be tagging, they may as well be doing double duty in UK.
Yeah, might as well. I thought that the opening sequence, like the Shine sequence with Lorcan and Danny Burch and Carrillo, was really, really good. Obviously, when you compare this match to everything on the previous show that we just reviewed, there's a huge difference in work rate.
Yeah,
and
it's almost as if this show has more talent.
Yeah, I don't watch the Forgotten Sons. They all had a good accounting of themselves, but this is obviously like a Jag, like, gimmick. Like none of the guys really stand out. They all stand out in the sense that they have good wrestling, but as far as characters, I couldn't tell you which one's which or who they are, what they're about, or anything like that.
Wait, you can't tell that, like, Jackson is Gunner from TNA, and he looks like fucking Batista once he gets in the gear.
I noticed that there was a guy who's really jacked. I didn't realize.
Okay.
Okay, until you said it just now, I remembered, like, yeah, that's Gunner.
Okay.
But watching it, there was no point when I was watching this where I thought, oh, that's Gunner.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing about him is he's not necessarily a good worker, but like he can follow. He's somebody that you can.
He was
follow.
fine in this match.
Yeah, but you can see his weaknesses or whatever aside from when he's like beating the hell out of people. So, but
I did like the numbers game. I like the way that they were able to kind of like just utilize their cohesiveness, the Forgotten Sons, to kind of get the win in this one.
Yeah, I'm just. They're like getting positioned as the top or the number 2 heels in the tag division or actually number 1 heels because
we don't know what's going on with Undisputed.
Well, now that you mentioned, I completely one we don't know was if they even have a tag team right now. They're on the Rocks, and then I was really confused about what they're doing with the Viking Raider Experience of War or whatever the hell they're gonna call themselves because. On their baby faces on NXT on the main roster, they're clearly heels. So I don't know, what
Viking Experiences.
And on the main roster, they're heels. They're beating up Lucha House Party.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're beating up Lucha House Party in their debut match. Like they tagged opposite Blackachet and tagged with the Revival in an 8-man tag. Like they're clearly heels.
So often with this company, I just always say to myself, "Who the fuck knows what goes on with this company?"
They don't even know. So why should I speculate and waste my brain power? Yeah. So,
but I thought this match was pretty good though. It's decent.
Yeah, it was a good match. It's just
they had Carrillo playing Ricky Morton for a while.
Yes. I'm wondering if they ever turn him heel and like they use the fact that he's a pretty boy as the Heat because I would enjoy that.
Kind of like what they're doing with Sammy Guevara over in AEW. They could probably do something similar to that.
What do you mean that's what they're doing? Like, it's a t-shirt company.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So then we get Dijakovic versus Mansoor.
No, we got a promo with the 2/3 horsewomen. 3/4.
Okay. They're walking on campus. They walk up on Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly says, trying to talk to Shayna. Shayna doesn't want to talk. Kathy Kelly asks her a question that she didn't like, and then she stomps off in a huff. I've seen this like 5 times already, just doing the show. Like, it's always Kathy Kelly is saying something that pisses off Shayna, she walks off. It's funny, but like, we've seen it already.
I thought Shayna was going to steal her.
I thought she was going to do something else to her, but we'll move this a PG show. So,
and there was a clip of earlier this week at the PC with Bianca Belair and Mia Yim.
You're right. They get into an argument because last week, during a media availability, a fake one, of course, she meaning Mia was talking about the landscape of the division because Shayna's been on a rampage. She's, made Bianca, who says she's undefeated, defeated, beating her twice. Then you have what she did to Kyrie by taking her off the show with the arm. And she's been beating up the locker room again ever since she lost a couple matches right after Phoenix. So she's getting all her heat back and then some. So Bianca at the PC during a class that Robbie Brookside is in the middle of taking care of. All of a sudden she interrupts and says to Mia, "Keep my name out your mouth." Then Mia says, "What you want to do about it?" And then they apparently have a match. In the background, you see Stokely, who is now, I think, name is Court Moore. Yeah, Court Moore. He starts stealing some focus by he pulls his phone out and he's almost trying to get a World Star moment. He's just the best. Like, he's not even trying yet, and he's already just the best.
I love that Mia's like, "Post up."
I was trying not to say it. I was like, "Post up." You want an entry pass from the free throw or from the 3-point line? The fuck are you talking about? Yeah, whatever.
And then she walks back. She's like, "What are you doing, Court?"
Yes. And it's funny because I don't know if you're on Twitter or not, but like They're constantly around each other, and they're constantly antagonizing each other. And the joke is always that, like, it's gonna reach a boiling point, and me is gonna beat the brakes off of him, and he knows it. So he's like trying to be funny, and he's basically like trying to throw rocks and hide his hands. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that whole scene was pretty funny, actually.
Yes. So did they say their match is next week or 2 weeks from now?
I don't know. I think it's next week.
Okay. Yeah. So we get Dominik Dijakovic versus Mansoor or Mansoor.
No, I'm sorry. Yim versus Baszler is next week.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, Dijak versus Mansoor. I've seen him on the Largo Loop before. 1 week he was playing a heel with goons, and next week he was playing a babyface. This week he's out as a babyface selling for this monster.
This is awesome.
Mansoor into the corner and hits him with some forearms before Mansoor hits a running back elbow, but he ends up getting caught, and he goes for the diving crossbody. Dijak spins around and launches Mansoor out of the ring from like a fall-away slam position, which just looked
so
horrifying
scary.
Because he didn't even grab the rope. He just fell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then he gets back into the ring, and then Mansoor ends up getting a near fall with like this crazy like knee enziguri deal where he ends up getting a spot where with strikes that he ends up getting Dominik on the ropes. He actually takes a knee. He basically steps up on that knee and then drops a knee strike, a V trigger. Since we have Keepin It Strong Style.
There's a lot of V triggers on these shows.
Yes, so he ends up getting a near fall out of that, and then he tries to follow up, and then Dijak hits the Feast Your Eyes for the win.
This match was awesome because in one way you could be like, this was a squash. Dijak just squashed this guy. Mm-hmm. But this guy got over as much as you possibly could get over in a squash while still looking good. Yeah. So like it did a favor for both guys at the same time. I didn't know if that was even like a possibility, but both guys just looked like excellent. Like Dijak being a dominant monster who's just super athletic and scary as whatever, and then Mansoor out here doing all this flippy do stuff, just looking very athletic. And I dug this match. It was short, but man, it was really, really good. And Dijak's awesome. Mansoor's awesome too, but Dijak's awesome.
Yes, because Dijak, he has that Brock Lesnar, or let's just focus on heels anyway. Like I also like to say that like NXT Asuka was also awesome at being an ass kicker that could be sell and be vulnerable, and when she was vulnerable, like she was awesome at it. But Shayna, Brock Lesnar when he gives a shit, and trying to think who else is like that as well. But
who
Dijak
sells
as
well?
Huh?
Who sells well?
No. Just as far as like they give this air of they're unbeatable until all of a sudden the Russian is cut, for lack of a better phrase, and then they're just sitting reeling, and you're just waiting for the baby face to just like, come on, you can do it, you can beat this dude, let's do that sort of thing. So this is definitely one of those matches. I just peeked the hell out of the microphone. My bad.
It didn't show up in my headset. Did you
I'm talking about our recording?
Did you notice that Dijak's gear is very reminiscent of Okada's gear?
I didn't notice that. I just noticed that like there's red, white, and gold.
Yeah, man.
Not red, white, blue, and gold.
They went to the same tailor, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And what that means is this man's got awesome gear. That's what that means.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna make a joke about hopefully he doesn't come out with some long pants on, because I know that was a huge thing for you.
Nah, he would never make that mistake.
Okay, so here we go. After this, Velveteen comes out and he says that you're talking about me last week. So then he basically accepts Dijak's challenge at the North American title via singing the remix version of the national anthem.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing fucking sucked. He was off beat. He was off.
He can't sing.
He can't sing. And the truest test of his overness and his likability is the fact that this thing sucked with no hands, yet at the end of it, the crowd loved it. It was legitimately going to be one of the worst promos, one of the 10 worst promos in WWE in 2019 from an objective standpoint, and the crowd ate it up. This dude, he made it work even though it sucked, and everyone knows it sucked.
Do you ever find that it's ironic that so much of what Dream does is based off of Prince, who happened to be a 5'2" man, and Dream is like a giant hulking dude, but it's just kind of like ironic that that's the case.
The thing is, he pulls from so many different inspirations that is like so many different places for inspiration. Whether it's Macho Man or it's Rick Rude or it's The Rock or it's Prince, that is Hogan, that I can't really at this point, like, it's almost just like that amalgamation. That's his dream at this point, because there's so many things he pulls from that is almost like it ain't even. I don't even think about it in those terms anymore. But yeah, I mean, you're right.
I totally agree. Obviously, I've always said that to me, Velveteen Dream is my WWE's version of Stranger Things. Something that pays homage to all these different. Yeah. So, like, it's basically like he's paying homage to the former wrestlers in a way that, like, Stranger Things always pays homage to Spielberg movies. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And all other 80s pop culture, but they do it in a way to where they make it into their own unique individual thing that's new and fresh, and that's what he does. The moment I saw Dream, I was like, he's Stranger Things. It's awesome. But I think for the regular layperson who's not as familiar with wrestling, if they saw him, they would just think Prince immediately, just based off the purple light and the look. Yeah. And so I've always just thought it was funny that, like, he's a 6'2" giant muscular man, and then, like, Prince was a little guy. Yes, Prince is thin's not the word. Not wiry is not the word. Like this like slight, gaunt almost, like, and do this, especially back in the 80s with, like, the androgynous look, and he has a heel on his boot. He's on some album covers, at times in the G-string. So I get it. Yeah. Yep. But Dominic definitely was pissed when this whole thing was going on. So I'm glad that they're giving I'll never call him Dijakovic, because I don't agree with that, but I'm glad they're giving you're saying you don't agree with his name? What? I'm dead naming him. He's Dijak. I call him Dijak from time to time. I'm just trying to, I can't say Dijakovic. It's too hard. Look, you know how many times I've had to call him Dijakovic for me to be able to say Dijakovic when I read through my notes? In my notes it says Dijak. But I'm just glad that they're giving this guy something for real now, and him and Dream's gonna be freaking awesome. Like, that's something I hope that they save it for TakeOver. I hope it's not on NXT, but it seems like it might be on TV. Nah, I need them to burn through that so I can get my Dijak my Dijak Keith Lee match that I was promised weeks ago. I got fucked over with because he got hurt. I need this match. I'm sorry, I need this match. They went out there and had a 5-star 7-minute match, bro. I need this match. I mean, they've got a 5-star in PWG. I don't cover PWG, Josh. I cover NXT. I need it in NXT. Oh, man. So, we end up getting to the main event, the debut of Kushida. Ohno takes... The undisputed stuff before that. Oh, yeah. God damn it. Okay, so they could do their normal previous... are they the Horsemen, or are they NWO promo where they're cutting the promos and they're trying to be cool heels while their music is playing in the background? So they say that they say that last week didn't phase them because they're more united than they've ever been before. And then it happens. This asshole Adam Cole goes out here and buries his own teammate Roddy by saying that Roddy, messed up. That he dropped the ball
And he said, even though you dropped the ball, we're still united. And then Roddy says, wait, what?
Yeah.
And sure enough, he walks away, and a funny thing happened. Instead of it being what we thought, where it would be like, in case of a split up, where it would be the Kyle O'Reilly, former tag team champions with Roddy, goes to follow him. Instead, it is the fourth wheel, Bobby Fish, who follows Roddy out. And then, as Adam Cole says that, dude, I was just joking. It's just a passive aggressive joke. You have Kyle O'Reilly, Mr. Air Guitar himself, staying with him with Cole and saying it was a joke. So we're getting face. Like the worst. We're getting the worst two pairs out of these guys that we probably could have imagined.
Obviously, we know Kyle O'Reilly has some of the best facials in wrestling, but his face during the entire promo was just hilarious. As soon as like Roderick Strong was like, took offense and was like taking off, like, I don't know, just like whatever it was that he was doing was just so hilarious.
You know what it is? It's almost as if Kyle O'Reilly like comes to the realization of things, and you can see his the gears turning in his head.
Yeah.
Almost like 5 times slower than it should be going. So
yeah,
it's like, I don't want to say he's a dummy, but it's clearly he's putting on to do this, but like, it's so delayed, and he's such a lackey that it's like hilarious.
Yeah. Like he's sitting there and he's looking and he looks confused, and then his mouth slowly drops.
Yes.
And it just stays agape for the longest time. Like,
yes,
it's so funny.
Yes, he's almost like, if you ever watch any episode of Friends, it's like any episode where they made fun of Joey being dumb. It was like, it's always the gag. It's like, except they don't actually like get to a point where like they realize that Joey's dumb, and they're always like catch up. It's like it happens, and then like he's catching up while no one realizes that he's behind yet. So it's even funnier because they don't even realize that like their friends out here lacking. It's so funny.
I'll tell you the truth. If that hadn't happened, then I would have allowed you to just continue on to the main event because I'm ready to talk about that. But because of what Kyle O'Reilly did, I was like, no, we got to talk about that because that stuff was funny.
Okay, so I think we also get a mention that we're going to get Riddle versus Cole in the next week or two.
Yeah.
So then we end up getting Kushida versus Kassius Ohno. Ohno takes Kushida down and then locks in a side headlock, and they grapple, and Ohno misses a leg drop before Kushida hits the not cartwheel, some gymnastic maneuver into a basement drop kick. Ohno drops Kushida with a boot and chops him before Kushida comes back with an enziguri and a springboard head chop, chopping. And then he goes for he ends up going for the penalty kick onto the arm, and then Ohno hits an electric chair face buster for a near fall, and then Kushida hits a flatliner into a turnbuckle, and then a springboard hurricanrana for a near fall, which
did not look good.
Boy, we need to talk about your homeboy Ohno, Josh. Look, I know that he's been big at different points in his career and everything else, but like this was a situation where like he was doing spots that he's done 1,000,000 times, but for some reason he couldn't do them tonight well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's, struggles with weight or if he's injured or whatever else, but it did not look as crisp as I've seen Chris Hero in the past.
No, I agree. Totally.
Yeah. So.
But like, both these guys are my homeboy. Don't do that.
I'm just being honest. Like, look, man, I've seen Chris Hero. He can do these moves before, but like, and I've seen him at this same size do these moves before, but this week it just wasn't happening.
You're like, your homeboy, Chris Hero.
Okay, I call him your homeboy because at one point you were saying like he might be the best wrestler in America. What was that, 2-3 years ago?
It was like 2015. It was like almost 4 years ago. But yeah, he was.
4 years ago. Oh, you see, he's like, no, it wasn't 3, it was 4. Okay, I see. Distance yourself, coward. So then,
it's not card leaf. It's factual. That literally was the year.
Sure.
If it happened in 2016, I'd be like, yeah, it was 2016.
How convenient. Anyway, we end up getting Kushida gets nearly knocked out with a forearm to back in the neck. Then he goes for a hand spring back elbow, and then Kushida drops him with a punch before hitting the PK to the arm, and then locking in the hoverboard lock for the win.
Yeah, I was really glad that they are keeping the hoverboard lock as one of his finishers. We'd seen him recently on the Largo Loop, and he didn't use that move. And so I was kind of speculating whether or not they would keep that as one of his finishers, but they are, which I'm, obviously very glad for that. I think they did call it the hoverboard lock, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. Now all we need is like gigawatts and,
we need Taguchi to show up on the Largo Loop dressed as Doc Brown's what we need.
Oh my God.
But I was glad that I got to cover it this week because obviously, covering Keepin It Strong Style for all these years, I'm very, well acquainted with Kushida, and I was very excited to see his in-ring television debut with NXT. I thought he looked really good here. This match was really good. I thought it was match of the night. Even though
it definitely was.
Ohno definitely was botching on some stuff. I mean, this was still really good.
Yeah, this is still like a 3.5 star match, maybe higher. Yeah.
And Kushida seemed to be very over with the Full Sail crowd. Obviously, that's a very smarky crowd, and I'm sure they knew who he was, coming in. But yeah, I mean, for years we talked on our show about him being able to compete with the heavyweights, and this just kind of showed like what he can do. And even though he was going up against a bigger guy like Kassius Ohno, he in no way came off like a little guy or someone that didn't belong or anything like that. Like he looked every bit like he was like this is where he should be.
Yeah. I think when we have the size discrepancies, whatever, I think the thing for me anyway, this probably may just be my opinion, but I think the best way that you can get away with small guy wrestling bigger guy or much bigger guy is either a person is a flyer, he can stick and move and use quickness or whatever else until you finally get into the match where you trade back and forth, or you have the super technician like a Kushida that can basically tie somebody in knots or spin around like a helicopter on someone's back. So
I think that, and then one other element, if you have someone who is an ass kicker and can strike really well. And I think fortunately Kushida kind of fits all those bills. He can high fly, he can be, very technical, and he has awesome strikes. Like he can do all three of those things very believably and does do them. Right.
He can do all three well, but for me, when I think of Kushida, I think more of on the mat and we're working holds. But I mean, obviously he can do it all, but for me, that's kind of that's like the Kushida I like. Like his goal, like his final match at Kurikan Hall against Tanahashi, like that is the kind of wrestling that I most enjoy from Kushida.
Yeah. Have you ever seen his match with Kyle O'Reilly?
No, we talked about it leaving out of that house show. But I need to check it. I cannot. 2005 or 2016.
2015, the Best Super Junior finals is so good. But one thing I thought was interesting in the beginning of the match, he tried to offer his hand to Ohno, and Ohno wouldn't. He kicked it away. He wouldn't shake his hand, and then at another point in the match, he grabbed Ohno's hand when he had the upper hand, and he held on to it, and he's like, "You're gonna shake my hand."
Yes, and the worst part about it is it was left-handed. Like when he shook the hand out the first time, Ohno,
it was the right hand.
It was left hand. It was left hand handshake. It's like that is. Disgusting.
Gotcha.
That's gross.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for what Kushida is gonna do here in NXT. Hopefully, it's not a Kenta situation. Maybe we fall more on the Nakamura side of things. But
I kind of wish his music was better, but whatever.
His music's not great.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but I thought they would come up with something better for him, but whatever. Thanks for being on the show, Josh. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Do you want to get plugs in?
Yep, so you can listen to my show, Keepin It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts. We cover New Japan Pro Wrestling exclusively. We drop every Tuesday at midnight. You can also follow us on Twitter at KI Strong Style, and also on Reddit. I'm Keepin It Strong Style. My co-host Jeremy, he is the pro black guy. You can also join us in wrestling discussion online on Facebook as part of the Wrestling Squared Circle.
Okay, and thanks for, again, but that's the end of the show, guys. Be sure to rate us on whatever app you're using to listen to this. Tell the folks about the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Be sure to check out our friends at powerslam.tv, the sponsor of the show. If you're a fan of independent pro wrestling, they have over 4,000 hours of footage from all over the world. You can use the code Social Suplex to get your free month's trial. Don't forget to visit prowrestlingtees.com/Social Suplex and pick up some Social Suplex Podcast Network merchandise. Josh, how long have you had the Keepin It Strong Style shirt for?
As long as the store's been open, I don't know, a few months.
Okay, so you guys need to catch up to get like Josh. So, also be sure to check out the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio. On Mondays or Tuesdays, we have Keepin It Strong Style with Josh and Jeremy. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Podcast. Every other Wednesday, we have Grown Men Watch This Shit with Jeremy and Chris. On Thursdays or Fridays, we have NXT Then Now Forever. And then on Saturdays, we have All Things Elite. Thanks for listening. Later.
Thanks, guys.